I have never really considered getting a 7-inch monitor, but after using the NEEWER F700, I've really come to love the larger screen. That's not the only interesting feature of this monitor though. Let's talk about it. If you're new here, I'm Sebastian and welcome to the channel where I talk about Lumix cameras and all things video and audio related. NEEWER sent me this monitor, but I'm not getting paid to make this video, and I can and will say whatever I want about this monitor. I've been using 5-inch monitors for years. The Atomos Ninja V, Blackmagic Video Assist, Shimbal Memory 1 and some others. I've always been satisfied with the size of the display, or so I thought. When NEEWER asked me if I wanted to test out their new F7 7-inch monitor, my thought initially, before I got it, was that I would find it too big and bulky and heavy and therefore cumbersome to use. But that turned out not to be the case at all. And that's due to a few reasons, or features if you will, of the F700. But before I get into that, let me give you an overview of this monitor. It's a 7-inch 1080p touchscreen monitor and it's super bright at 2000 nits. Therefore, it also doesn't come with a sun hood. The screen itself is plenty bright to be able to see it outdoors in sunlight. The F700 comes with several cables, full-size HDMI to full-size HDMI, to micro HDMI and even mini HDMI. I don't know who uses that anymore. And a USB-C cable and this actually great monitor mount, which has a locating pin, which I'm always a fan of. It's got the usual ports you'd expect, like HDMI in, that takes a signal up to 4K DCI up to 24 or 25p, but I also haven't had any issues monitoring 100 frames a second. It's also got HDMI loop out, a 12-volt DC input, a USB-C input, a headphone port, and also a 8.4-volt DC output, plus an SD card slot for loading your LUTs onto the device. On the back, we've got 2 MPF battery slots. With this particular monitor, that means that we can hot swap batteries, which is great. On the top, we find a few physical buttons, of which 3 are customizable function buttons. I have to say, I do appreciate some physical buttons. The lack thereof on something like the Ninja V is something that's always annoyed me a little. There's also a small LED that tells you whether the monitor is on or off. And I think this is completely superfluous. I mean, I can tell when the monitor is on, right? Just by looking at the screen. Also, the LED turns red when the monitor is off, and that red LED stays on all the time whenever it's connected to power. Whether that's a battery or via one of the power inputs, it's always on. Not sure why, and it's completely unnecessary. The user interface is okay. It's not the most intuitive I've ever seen, but it's fairly easy to navigate. One thing that I like and find useful is that you can adjust the brightness of the screen just by dragging up and down on the screen, on the left side area of the screen. The same goes for volume adjustment on the other side of the screen. It's also possible to change the position of the waveform, for example, but it is limited to positions within a grid. You can't just drag it around into any position. Speaking of tools though, it's got all the tools you'd expect, like focus peaking in different colors, waveform, vector scope, false color in 2 different flavors, and audio meters. What I would like to see though is the addition of EL Zone in more monitors in general. Since the addition of EL Zone to my Ninja V, I use it all the time and has quickly become one of my most used exposure tools. So I guess I'm calling out all brands that make camera monitors to include EL Zone. But until they do, waveform is still a great exposure tool, and the F700's waveform is fine, and most importantly, doesn't change when using a viewing LUT. It will still read exposure from the log image. Now back to the beginning where I said that I've come to love the bigger 7-inch monitor for a few reasons. First of all, the larger the display, the easier it is to check composition, exposure, etc. However, I thought such a large monitor, that's going to make my rig heavy, bulky and top heavy. But the F700 is also very light and very flat. It's only about 15 grams heavier than my Ninja V and about the same thickness. It's not at all making my rig heavier basically. It does of course make the rig as a whole a bit larger, but in most cases I don't find that to be an issue. And its 2000 nit display means that I also don't need a sun hood when shooting outdoors, keeping the whole setup as compact as it can be in any situation. I have tested NEEWER's 5-inch F500 monitor a while back, but ran into several issues with it and decided not to review it on the channel. However, with the F700, NEEWER did a good job of making a great 7-inch monitor at an attractive price point, and I haven't run into any issues with this one, and I feel comfortable recommending the F700 if you're looking for a 7-inch external monitor. There's of course a link to the F700 in the description if you want to check it out. By the way, I've got a whole array of camera monitors. If you like, I could make a video comparing them all. They range from relatively cheap to more high-end. Let me know if you'd be interested in a video like that. Anyway, I hope this video was helpful. If so, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel, and maybe hit that notification bell, and I hope to see you next time. Thanks for watching.